Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Narrative, the Road to 100 with Black AI Media. I'm Cedric Scott Jr., your host, and I'm excited about today's guest and just hearing more of these stories. And we actually have somebody who is going to be talking a little bit about the career space and some of the work that's happening there and how AI is making its way. Because I know a lot of people in the job search and that type of thing are definitely trying to consider what's happening with the technology whenever it comes to my resume and all these things. So we got somebody here who can definitely answer some of those questions and also give some great insight into just experience and currently where you are in creating. So we have Deja White. My sister's name is Deja as well. But I want you to first just give us some introduction to your background, and then we'll go into talking about your work with Breakroom Buddha and how you're leveraging AI there.
Sure. I never know how to introduce myself because I've lived many lives in the span of my career. I'm a career marketer. So my whole career has been in marketing, working with entertainment companies, tech companies, nonprofits, social impact groups, all of the things that you can think of. The basis of marketing is the same, no matter where you go. You're trying to connect with an audience, tell a story, and you have to learn how to position yourself. I sort of took the insights and the strategies and tactics that I learned in marketing and then just placed it on myself. Like, how can I market myself? How can I brand myself? How can I move into a space and connect with an audience of people? And that's sort of how Breakroom Buddha was born. Breakroom Buddha started off as a blog, sort of like the day in the lives that you see people posting on TikTok now, but just in blog form. I'd write articles about what I was experiencing as a young professional. Both my parents are educators, they work in the school system. I was sort of entering this corporate life and corporate space, and I felt kind of alone because it's a new space. I didn't really know who to lean on to get advice. So that's where that blog was born. From that blog, it's had many hats just like me. So I've had interview series, I've created tools and digital products, all the things under the sun. Every time a new technology comes out, I'm like, how can I leverage it to do something with Breakroom Buddha, and be as creative as possible? So now with AI, I've done the same thing. Breakroom Buddha has been around for about 5 years. And I've expanded it, and now I use AI to co-create blog articles. I developed AI tools that lives on separate websites that people can use to help dig into their career a little bit more. But I just love to help people with their careers because I knew where I was when I was starting, and that is just like a one-stop shop so that people can level up in their career and their life. So happy to dive a little bit deeper on how I use AI to do it all too.
Yes, and excited to have you, especially I didn't know about your parents' background working in education and being a career changer myself, working in schools previously, and then moving into more of the ed tech side of things is definitely really intriguing from the career perspective. So I'll be interested to hear your insights, just that people can kind of pick up and take away. I know you have some really practical information and even some of the tools and resources that you've created. So uh, really excited to get into that. But I want to start with our driving question that I'm asking all of our guests as we get into these conversations, which is, what does narrative mean to you?
Hmm. I love that question. Like I said, I'm a marketer, but I'm a storyteller first. And I think it's all about the stories that we tell ourselves, that we tell other people. It basically drives how we live our life. I'm really big on life design as well. So that's what it means to me. Like, how are you telling stories? How are you telling this? What are the stories that you're telling to yourself? Because that creates your reality. And then what are the stories you're telling to other people? Because that also creates your reality, how people see you, how you show up, what you tell them. That's sort of the way that your life will go. So I constantly rewrite my story. I'm like, what do I learn today? What are the things that I'm watching? What are the things that I'm consuming? What are the things that I'm creating? How does that make me look in the spaces that I'm entering? All of it is storytelling. So I think narratives are stories that we tell ourselves and other people. And until we get it right, We can never really get it right. Life is a journey. But until we get it right in the sense where we're happy and moving in a space that we feel that we belong, I think our lives are kind of out of whack. So I believe deeply in stories and narrative and making sure that we are constantly checking in with ourselves. So that's what it means to me.
It, you said something that is kind of interesting to me. I don't know that I've ever heard that phrase, life design. Can you expand on that a little bit before we
Mhm.
move into the next phase of questioning? Because I'm interested to just break that down a little bit because
Yeah.
you don't hear that all the time. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah. So the way that I approach things is always mindset first. So that starts with like the stories that we tell ourselves. What do we think we can and can't do? I don't think we can't do anything. I think we can do anything that we put our mind to. It's very cliche, but it really does start with the mind. What are you telling yourself you can do today? Action comes into play because once you tell yourself you can do something, then you have to start to take action to live out that dream, that story, whatever it is that's playing. What are you consuming? Those are more stories that are created in our lives and in our world. The media that we watch, the news that we watch, everything that we consume, we're basically downloading things that other people have downloaded into their minds. I don't know. It's starting to sound like very woo woo and puzzly. But long stories short, when you consume things, you are consuming what other people have interpreted in their own lives. So that contributes to a story or narrative that you tell yourself and how you live. And then once again, when you're talking to other people, the stories that you're then telling them, that's painting the picture on how they view you as a person. So it's all connected. Like it's all a narrative, it's all a story. It all can be made up at any point, which makes life it's like a dream. It's all still sounding very woo-woo and puzzly, but life is really when you think about it, it's like a dream, it's a story, it really is. And that's how I view like life and narrative and everything that I do. And like I'm like a person that's like whatever. I live life to the fullest. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it. That's always been my vibe. My friends call me like a free spirit a lot of times. My parents don't know what to do with me. So like when I think of narrative, that's what I think about. It's like you are creating your life. You are creating the stories that you tell yourself and you tell other people. So that's my deep dive on stories and narrative.
And that's kind of refreshing just to hear, it's like a dream and it's yeah. I mean, I get how it could be viewed as kind of whimsical in kind of nature, but I think there's something to that. And I think that that also speaks to your energy and who you are as a person and what you put out into the world and how you're helping other people. And I wanted to go a little bit actually into, I guess, your journey more so related to tech and AI a little bit more specifically and
Yeah.
how you got started in those spaces. Can you tell a little bit of your background, like in terms of that journey? Like, how did you get
Yeah.
started leveraging tech, AI, and what led you to where you are right now?
Yeah. Oh, I think what we see as we're growing up contributes tremendously to how we turn out as adults. So my dad actually works in technology. He's like a hands-on software guy. If a computer breaks, he can fix it like that. He can rebuild databases and all the things that I can't really describe. I am not a software girly, but I grew up with like a computer. I grew up being able to access the internet. When I was in high school, my dad, there was like a computer programming class or a coding class, and he was like, "You are taking this class?" I was like, "Okay, I'll take a computer coding class, whatever." And I liked it. Like I'd always grown up on the computer. I was a blogger, so I was always on Tumblr messing around with templates and things like that. And by my dad insisting that I take this coding class, he kind of set me up for success for my entire career without me even knowing it. So that's like pivotal moment one. I took a coding class in high school. I moved on to college and I was a film and TV production major. I was like, I am going to be a film director. I love like Jerry Bruckheimer. I love like Kenny Ortega. These are just like directors. I was like, I love these people. I'm going to be the next one of those people. I get to college and I'm like, I don't like set life. Like my life was made for more. I can't be sitting around all day. So I will not be a film director. I will not be a film writer. I won't do that. but I stuck with it. I didn't change my major because I'm like, I'm having fun making student films, and like, what else can I ask for? What I did do is add a certificate. It was something called a new media certificate. And it was an alternative to me becoming a computer science like double major minor. I knew that I still liked like technology. I really liked developing like pretty websites and pretty mobile interfaces, and I was like, I will be now, I no longer want to be a film director. I will be a product designer in the tech industry. I had my mindset. I was like, what do I need to do? Okay, minor in computer science, do all these things. I went into like the office and they're like, no, you have to go back and take all these math classes if you want to be a computer science double major or minor. And I was like, I'm not retaking classes, especially math. So that's where this new media certificate came into play. It was basically kind of like a low key version of computer science. Like we took more web development classes. I took some graphic design classes under that certificate. I learned how to code an app, and I developed an app on for Apple iPhones. It was like way back in the day, very clunky. Me and my partner literally learned how to code one of the features from like a 15-year-old from Poland or something. It was so crazy. He was the only person who had a video on YouTube helping us solve this one specific problem. That's how new developing apps on iPhones were when I took this class. And then so that kind of set me up for success part two. Working in tech, I was like, this changed my, there goes back to what you consume, what you think is possible. It just changed my mindset on what I could do after I graduated college. So I went through that program successfully. One of my last jobs on campus was a web developer for an on campus department. And I led with that when I was entering the workplace. And I ended up landing an internship at Uber. It was Uber's first design class. They never had creative interns. So I was in that first class, and I was the first ever intern on the team that I was interning for. It was on the creative marketing department, and it was on like their design and content operations team. I wasn't doing a ton of like tech, like I wasn't hired to do anything tech related, but when I got in there, I redid their entire web pages for their internal databases. I was interviewing employees and basically telling stories like Uber's story. It was during a time that Uber was a little bit shaky in faith internally, but I came in there and I was able to help them sort of rebrand internally using some of those coding skills that I learned, using some of my film degree that I didn't think I needed. So that was another pivotal moment, part two, because I learned how to take pieces from my background and plug it into new environments. So I've always, since that time, I've always teetered the line between design, technology, marketing, storytelling. And throughout my career, my piece of tech that I've held on to was my coding ability. Every single job I've had to code an email template, a web page, help communicate the things that we need on from a creative lens to a technical team. Like it all helps, even if I'm not the one hard coding anything. So that was my journey into tech, and how I've sort of added like a creative spin to it, because I learned early on that I don't want to be coding nonstop all day every day. You're laughing, it's a struggle. I was like, I don't want to be coding all day every day. So how can I use that skill that I have but move on to something that's a little bit more creative and have that help me leverage in those creative spaces where someone else might not know how to code. So that's sort of how I've played at that tech stream throughout my career.
Wait, don't go anywhere. If you're loving this conversation, we've got so much more waiting for you at blackaimedia.com. That's right, you can catch the full interview with even more insights, stories, and perspectives from our guest. At Black AI Media, we're all about celebrating the innovators, disruptors, and visionaries from the Black global community who are shaping the future of tech and AI. We're talking game-changing ideas, powerful voices, and exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. So, if you're ready to keep the inspiration flowing and dive deeper, head over to blackaimedia.com right now. Don't miss out on the full experience. We'll see you there.